Pawn Stars boss Rick Harrison agrees to pay $11,000 for Batman toy considered a holy grail. In the ever-evolving world of collectibles and memorabilia, few items capture the imagination quite like rare toys from beloved pop culture franchises. Among these, Batman stands out as one of the most iconic characters in entertainment history, with generations of fans collecting everything from comic books to action figures. But within that universe, there exists a piece so rare, so coveted, that it is often referred to as the Holy Grail of Batman toy, collecting the 1966 Corgi Toys Batmobile. When this legendary piece made its way into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas, it was Rick Harrison, the seasoned businessman and face of Pawn Stars, who found himself at the center of a deal that would excite collectors across the globe. The episode, which aired during one of the show's later seasons, showcased how a small toy could carry immense historical and financial value. The customer in question was a quiet but enthusiastic collector who had held onto the item for decades. He arrived at the pawn shop carrying a modestly sized box, unassuming on the outside, but hiding something extraordinary inside. When he carefully opened it and revealed the red and black die-cast Batmobile, still sealed in its original blister packaging, Rick's eyes lit up. The man nodded confidently. Original packaging. Never opened. Mint condition. Rick exchanged glances with his team behind the counter. It was clear they were looking at something special. But rarity alone wasn't enough. Authenticity had to be verified before any offer could be made. To understand why this toy is considered such a treasure, one must look back at the era in which it was produced. The 1960s Batman television series starring Adam West was a cultural phenomenon, bringing the Caped Crusader into millions of American homes each week. The show's campy tone, colorful villains, and unforgettable theme song created an instant connection with audiences, especially younger viewers. Corgi Toys, a British manufacturer known for producing high-quality die-cast models, capitalized on the show's popularity by releasing a scale replica of the Batmobile in 1966. Unlike many other toys of the time, the Corgi version was meticulously detailed, featuring chrome accents, working suspension, and even a functioning bat signal on the hood. But what truly set this toy apart from others was its limited production run. Only a small number were ever made, and over the decades, many were either damaged through play or lost entirely. Finding one still sealed in factory-fresh condition became a dream for serious collectors, a near-impossible task. Rick turned to Austin, the shop's resident expert on vintage items, to conduct a thorough inspection. Austin examined every inch of the packaging, checking for signs of tampering, verifying copyright information, and inspecting the color scheme and logo placement. The early Batman logo is here, Austin noted, impressed. That's a key indicator. Later versions changed the design slightly. He also checked the plastic blister for yellowing, a common sign of aging, and found none. The wheel showed no signs of rubber rot, another positive sign. Through the clear packaging, the paint finish looked pristine, with no chips or oxidation. This looks authentic, Austin concluded. It's a high-grade example. If it gets professionally graded, it could be worth a lot more than what we're looking at right now. Rick took a deep breath. He knew that while the toy was valuable, there was always risk involved when dealing with high-end collectibles. "All right," he began, "here's where I stand. You've got a very rare item here. Not everyone walks into this shop with a sealed Corgi Batmobile from 1966. But I also have to consider the market. There's a chance it might not sell for as much as we expect, and I can't pay top dollar without some kind of guarantee. So here's my offer," Rick continued. "I'll give you $11,000 today, cash for the toy. If it gets graded and sells for more than that, I'll give you half of the profit. That way, you benefit if it turns out to be super valuable." The customer thought for a moment, then extended his hand. "That sounds fair." The camera zoomed in on the Batmobile, resting on the glass counter, a symbol of nostalgia, rarity, and the enduring legacy of Batman. After the deal was struck, the next step was to send the toy to a professional grading company. Companies like CGC, Certified Guarantee Company, and PSA, Professional Sports Authenticator, specialize in evaluating the condition and authenticity of collectibles, including vintage toys. The process involves submitting the item in its original packaging, where it is placed in a tamper-proof holder and assigned a numerical grade based on strict criteria. For toys like the Corgi Batmobile, factors such as packaging integrity, color vibrancy, structural soundness, and overall presentation are crucial. Weeks passed as the team waited anxiously for the results. Finally, the package returned to the pawn shop, and Rick eagerly opened the envelope. It came back graded a 9.2, near Mint Plus, Rick announced. "That's really good. This thing is almost perfect." The report confirmed that the toy was indeed untouched, with no signs of wear or damage. This was a true find, a collector's dream come true. With the grading confirmed, Rick listed the Batmobile on a private collector's marketplace. Within days, interest started pouring in. Offers came from around the country, with some collectors willing to pay well into 5 figures for the piece. 2 weeks after listing, Rick received a bid that caught his attention, $75,000 from a longtime Batman enthusiast in Texas. Rick immediately called the original seller. "You sold it for $75,000, Rick said. "Your share of the profit is $32,000. You just made over $40,000. The man was stunned. "Wow, I didn't think it would go that high. Thank you, Rick." Rick chuckled. "You brought in something special. I'm glad I could help." Beyond the financial success of the deal, the story of the Corgi Batmobile highlights several themes that Pawn Stars has explored throughout its run. The intersection of history and commerce, the power of nostalgia, and the idea that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. For many viewers, the Batmobile represents more than just a toy. It's a time capsule of the 1960s, a symbol of childhood wonder, and a testament to how popular culture can shape generations. For collectors, it's a prize that few ever get to own. Rick's decision to offer a split deal rather than a flat price reflects his business philosophy. Take calculated risks, reward honesty, and ensure both parties walk away satisfied. The sale of the Corgi Batmobile sent ripples through the collecting community. It reaffirmed the strength of the Batman brand and the growing demand for vintage superhero memorabilia. In recent years, items tied to early depictions of Batman, especially those from the 1960s TV series, have become increasingly valuable. The Batmobile itself remains one of the most recognizable vehicles in entertainment history. Its influence can be seen in modern car designs, video games, and even theme park attractions. The Corgi version, with its sleek lines and faithful recreation of the TV model, holds a special place in the hearts of collectors. This particular toy, now safely stored in a climate-controlled collection somewhere in Texas, will likely remain untouched for years, admired only through its protective case, a preserved piece of pop culture history. In a follow-up interview, Rick reflected on the experience. "I've handled a lot of rare stuff in my time," he said. "But something like that, that's special. It's not just about money, it's about preserving a piece of our shared cultural heritage. People forget that these little things can carry a lot of meaning. For some kid growing up in the 60s, that Batmobile was the coolest thing in the world. Now it's a reminder of where we've been and how far we've come." He paused, then added with a grin, "Plus, it doesn't hurt that it's worth more than my truck." From the perspective of the original seller, the deal was equally significant. Holding onto a rare item for decades requires patience and belief in its value. Many people might have discarded or sold such a toy for a fraction of its worth, not realizing its potential. Instead, the seller chose to hold on to it not necessarily for financial gain, but because of the emotional connection it represented. Selling it through Pawn Stars allowed him to see its true value while ensuring it went to someone who would appreciate it. The rise in popularity of vintage toys as investment pieces has been dramatic over the past decade. Once dismissed as mere playthings, items like the Corgi Batmobile are now being treated with the same seriousness as fine art or rare coins. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Sotheby's have begun hosting dedicated events for vintage toy collectors, with prices soaring into six figures for the rarest pieces. This trend shows no sign of slowing down, as nostalgia-driven buyers continue to drive demand. The Corgi Batmobile is just one example of how deeply embedded these toys are in our cultural consciousness. They represent more than just objects, they represent memories, dreams, and the stories we grew up with. The story of Rick Harrison acquiring and selling the 1966 Corgi Batmobile is more than just another episode of Pawn Stars. It's a tale of passion, perseverance, and the unexpected ways in which history finds its way into our lives. Whether you're a fan of Batman, a collector of vintage toys, or simply someone who appreciates the power of nostalgia, this story serves as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't buried underground, they're hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize their worth. And for Rick Harrison, that's just another day at the pawn shop.